right, moving on to game 3 here on this Saturday slate, and game 3 in the series for Boston and Brooklyn. We are now in Brooklyn in this one, Nate. I don't want to, no disrespect meant to any other series, specifically probably that Memphis and Minnesota series. This is the one people still want to watch. Memphis, Minnesota has been wild, and you had to make sure you watch two 20-point comebacks from Memphis to really enjoy that one. But this series has, 4 all-stars, 2 of the best offensive players of the last 20 generations, probably a top 10 player all time in KD. So it's a series that we want to see. It's a little bit of a, not necessarily a torch passing. KD's not going anywhere, but there's been a next step taken, and Jason Tatum's no one's little brother anymore. And he's no sort of secondary, KD light or anything like that. It's not just him at this point. Obviously, you've got to love what you're seeing from your C's. But this is game 3, and to a degree, you can make the case that the series doesn't start till the home team loses, right? And they were supposed to take care of business. That theory is also predicated on a team having home court advantage. I don't personally know any Brooklyn Nets fans. I don't think you do, and you even live on the East Coast still. So what are we expecting here in game 3?
Yeah, I mean, the crowd could be pretty evenly split on a Saturday evening. Yep. Plenty of people will have bought out those tickets who are Celtics fans. But, I mean, the first thing I'm looking at is positive regression from Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who you cannot expect to play that bad again. And I don't think ever again. And I'm sticking by my guns. I mean, that's the theme with all these videos here on Saturday. I like Nets over 111 in game 2 because of those 2 guys and what they are capable of doing in the face of even the best defense. And it's 112 for this game as we go back to Brooklyn. They still have a 126 offensive rating with those 2 guys on the floor. And game 2 is on pace for definitely for over. I mean, the total is around 226. Heartbreaking if you teased it down like myself, and it finished at 221. But I mean, the Nets were on pace for 232, the 2 teams at least. And then the Nets, after 0 field goals over a 7-minute stretch in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
KD, it's like the Monstars took his talent. Yeah, it was just like he dribbles the ball off his foot. He doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. He looked rattled by the Celtics' physical defense. I mean, that's the storyline, right? That's the big headline that, refs read papers too, though, Josh. And the refs are going to be like, all right, what are they doing to KD off the ball exactly? All right. And you will get a little bit of home court advantage from the officials and from the fact that you're down 2-0 in the series that everybody wants to watch. I'm not saying the NBA tips the refs anymore.
No.
No. Keep their games, keep the series close. But, I mean, the Nets don't need that much help. Like, we put it after game 1. Durant did not play up to his standard, and the Celtics needed a miracle buzzer beater. In game 2, they both didn't play up to their standard. The Celtics still needed to come back and pull away. They're wearing these 2 guys down, but Brooklyn came out and did everything you needed from their role players. Bruce Brown, Goran Dragic, 41 points on 16 for 26 field goal shooting. Seth Curry, 16 points. I like him to get over 11.5, by the way, in this one.
Me too.
And Drummond and Claxton giving you the size and physicality you needed after getting crushed on the boards, absolutely even, 36-36 in rebounds. Brooklyn had 2 more offensive rebounds than Boston. So, I mean, I think Steve Nash has found a little bit of a recipe in terms of putting the right lineups out there. It's just now on those 2 guys. And we knock him in another video for not having much X's and O's beyond those 2 guys scoring. But frankly, that's what this team is built to do. I mean, you can change the action of how they get the ball and how you free them up, but it's on KD and Kyrie to go make some shots. And I think they will in this game. That's why I like over, specifically the Nets over. And if you're having me tease it, I would go Celtics +7 to get that total down. Just because I don't think that the Celtics are going to lay down no matter what.
I'm just chuckling at the way you say, if you're going to have me tease it, and it's like, dude, you're the number 1 teaser. You're having yourself do it for sure. But no, it's funny because I don't disagree with you in a lot of ways. I'm kind of looking at some live betting in this one. I don't know if this game theory will work, and if this stat really, that sequence will back up is worth me necessarily what I'm trying to say is in the first half, the Brooklyn Nets are very good. In the second half, they are not, at least in the first two games in Boston. And that at least tells me to a degree that the 2-man offense and relying on these guys to play 40 plus minutes plus having combined usage rates near 70%. They're exhausted. Plus, Cade, this is where we give Boston and the kudos is they're chipping the crap out of him, right? Every possession, whether he's on offense and has the ball or not, he's getting clipped. He's having to run around screens, whoever is guarding him. I mean, he doesn't matter who he's guarding. If he's guarding, Al Horford, they're going to run Al Horford off of a couple screens. It doesn't matter, right? Because they just want that action to keep KD off balance. He is a thin guy. I'm not saying like he can't handle and hang. He's already played enough years in this league at the highest level that he gets the respect of being strong enough to play through anything. But when the game plan is that, combined with the fact that the usage rate between the two of them is what it is. I mean, they have a minus negative 20 rating. They have a negative 20 rating in the second half, combined in these first two games, a plus 12 in the first half. And it's like you said, they came out and the game plan was working. And that might be scary to some Nets fans that everything's been working to a degree, or certain things have been working, or at least in game one, you get 39 points from Kyrie. You get a combined output from Goran Dragic and Bruce Brown. That was probably pretty unexpected as well. And then, you still, lose that game on a buzzer beater and need to come back, whatever. Then in game two, you look at it and you go, we had a 15-point lead in the second quarter, and it just blew by us. It just went away. And I guess where I'm at too is I do like some points in this one. I think the Celtics defense, while it's not necessarily going to be limited because of a loud Brooklyn crowd, it is fueled in some way by an incredibly loud Boston crowd, right? And that lack of that has to at least have that regression on defense back to the mean for them as well. But it should be noted, they still are the best defensive team in the league and have been since basically January 1st. And so it's not like they're incapable of it, but you got to put your money on in the third game after two bad performances from two of the best offensive players in the last 20 years. Like I said, you've got to put your money on them to have a bounce back.
Yes. And that's why I do like also Durant to lead the series in scoring at plus 185. Those three guys, him and Kyrie and Tatum, are basically all at 50 points right now. And with Durant playing the two worst playoff games of his life. So, I mean, who's gonna have some positive regression here? Interesting you say that about the Celtics feeding off the crowd. I was stunned to look up their splits since January 25th when they became this juggernaut. They have the exact same points per game, pace, offensive rating, and defensive rating, home and away. They are just good. Really? But they are 12-8 to the over when they're listed as underdogs, covering by going over by 6. And 16-7 against the spread as road favorites. Right. They're not favorites in this one, but no. So I do think that they still tend to go over in this type of situation, and more it is about the Nets maintaining that pace. I mean, we're talking about their struggle scoring in the fourth quarter. It's not like we're guaranteeing they're going to keep lighting it up. So you could still live bet it under. Before that fourth quarter, because the Celtics also struggle to score down the stretch in close games. They play great defense, but I think we're once again going to be in the second or third looking at an adjusted total around 230. And I think this time we won't fall so far short because the Nets aren't going to be that bad down the stretch. And then zooming out at the series a little bit, I mean, Ben Simmons probably coming back in game 4. That's not a huge chess. I mean, it could. It's a huge wild card, really. And I think that just gives the Nets a little sliver of hope to say, look, if we win this game, then we have a different angle to throw at Tatum. We have a different player to throw out there. Maybe we even it up. And then, it's anybody's ball game. And I think the way you bet that is being like, look, the Celtics aren't going to sweep. They're probably not going to win in 5. Celtics in 6 is plus 460, is one of the most profitable bets you can bet here. And I think they'll need at least that many to get rid of the Nets. In Celtics in 7, plus 410. Just for this series to go 7, still plus 210 if you think the Nets can still pull it out. Vegas still loves them, of course, plus 370 for the Nets to win in 6 or 7. So, there's some angles to look at. But I do think this will go down to the wire, this whole series.
Yeah, just to touch on that point briefly, real quick. I thought this series was going 7 when it started. We said before game 2, the Nets could very well lose this series, and I still wouldn't feel great just placing a bet on the Celtics to win this series straight up. I would feel better actually putting money on 7 games right now still, honestly, because I do think that the Nets win game 3. If they don't, and I'm proven wrong, it's not going to shock me because I do believe in this Celtics team. But I'm going with I'm going to need to see Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving shot dead before I'm just going to bet against them at this point. And like I said, I'm not going to be shocked. I don't hate your idea of a tease because of the fact that even though Brooklyn could win, or just taking a Brooklyn money line bet, I guess is what I'm saying. Perhaps player performance double just to keep that juice on those bets and keep my odds where I want them. But the other thing I was going to say is it's interesting because we're not just a podcast about the NBA. We're a betting podcast about the NBA. But if we were just a regular podcast about the NBA, there's no way we would have gone 12 minutes in this episode without talking about Sen Bimmons already. You know what I mean? And that's because it's just fodder to, at this point, he's not going to impact the game in a way that's going to affect how I bet it. Let's put it that way. And I think at the most he's getting 15 minutes. He might have a great 15 minutes. But it's not like this isn't even. He has barely practiced, if at all, right? And this isn't practice. This isn't a preseason game. This isn't even a regular season game. Hell, this isn't even a regular postseason game. This is essentially a conference finals game at the level of play that we're talking about here. You think he's going to come in after not playing for 10 months in any type of professional basketball scenario and just be super impactful? Like it ain't going to happen. So I don't think they expect it to happen. I think him coming back is to see if they can continue on and maybe there's a spark, but like I like to say, like, I love playing fantasy football or even basketball, just fantasy sports, and having a guy on the bench who starts the season hurt, but it's a nice little uplift to your team that you're like, hey, I still have like 25 points a game coming to me when this dude comes off the bench. That ain't Ben Simmons. It's just been too long, and this is not the time that you bring in that dude who's the reserve to be the spark when everything else is working a different way. So I like the money line here. I like points in the first half. I'm not gonna bet a total here. I'm probably gonna bet a first half total and get an over there rather than the game, because I still feel like there's some wear down opportunity and likelihood for the Nets against an incredibly good defensive Boston Celtics team.